Namaste, this is Prashant here, your strategy consultant and Jyotish Vidya Vachaspati. I'm back again on my channel Ahamevyaham with an interesting video this time where we'll be covering something related to our ancient Vedic knowledge. This is part 1 in this series, so stay tuned. In this video, I'm going to cover a few basic things related to this ancient science, which is supposedly considered to be top secret. I'll begin with Swarodaya, that is, which is the basic scripture that narrates what this is all about. Then I'll try to explain the difference between prana and swara and their connection. Then we'll cover what is meant by Ida Nadi and the associated activities with it, that is Ida Karma. We'll continue with Pingala Nadi and the activities associated with Pingala, that is Pingala Karma, and Sushumna Nadi and the activities associated with Sushumna, that is Sushumna Karma. And I'll conclude this video with Swarodaya, that is the practice on how to control your breath. So let's begin with Swarodaya. Manojavam marutatullya vegam jitendriyam buddhimatam varishtam vatatpajam vanarayutha mukyam Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye. I'm beginning this with my obeisance to Hanuman, who is called as Pavanputra, that is the son of the wind god. And what is Swarodaya? It is the basic scripture on the science of breath. Now, this is basically about the science of breath control. And why do we need to control our breath? Mind you, this is not about yogasanas or pranayama. That is quite different from what is mentioned in this book. This is basically in a dialogue form between Shiva and his consort Parvati. It is a Shiva Parvati Samvad, and it has certain shlokas which explains about the science of breath control and the purpose of it. So what's the purpose of controlling our breath? It is not about just some kind of physical exercise. It is about trying to control our breath in order to control the life energy or the prana that pervades our entire body, mind and soul and our entire existence. On your screen you can see a kind of smart art where you can see the Panchatatvas, that is Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, Prithvi. So it is said that our entire body, this physical body, is made up of these 5 elements or Panchatatvas. And it is these Panchatatvas that determine everything in our lives. And the prana vayu, that is the life energy that flows within our body, it affects each of these tattva individually according to the situation, place and time. So to simplify the thing, it's a very deep concept. I've tried to oversimplify it for ease of understanding. Akasha, let us stick to the subject of the science of breath control. So when you're talking about breathing, what is Akasha or space? The space is provided in our nostrils, right? This is the space through which the air flows. So the nostrils represent the Akash Tattva. And next comes Vayu. Vayu is nothing but air, and the air that we breathe in through the nostrils. So that is our breath. And when we breathe in and breathe out, inhalation and exhalation, this is what allows the Agni Tattva to function in the body, which is basically nothing but the various reactions that are taking place inside the body, right from digestion to respiration to various other reflexes and all the other activities that happen within our body is powered by Agni, that is the fire element. And as it has been scientifically accepted, the Jala Tattva is also all pervading. In fact, just like our planet is covered with more than 70% of water, our bodies are also filled with more than 70% of water or liquid. So what represents the Jala Tattva? All the chemical secretion by the various glands inside the body, right from your salivary glands to your pineal gland to your pancreas. So each of these thyroids, etc., all they do is secrete certain chemicals which is governed by the Jala Tattva, and it is this secretion that leads to various reactions within the body, which again represents the Agni Tattva. And what is our body? Basically the physical body, it is represented by the Prithvi Tattva or the earth element. So as far as the Swarodaya Shastra is concerned, we are looking at our entire body, mind, body and soul through the lens of these 5 different tattvas. And if we link it to the process, that is what I've tried to show on the screen, right from your nostrils to the breath that you take in and breathe out, to the reactions within the body and the chemical secretion that is happening within the body and the body itself. All of this is being pervaded by prana or life energy. Now, if we are able to control, influence or manipulate this prana, then we are able to control our mind, body and soul, and eventually we'll be able to control any kind of situation that we are in. So what is the way to control this prana or the life energy? It is through our breath. So we'll see that next. We'll have a look into prana and swara now. Prana is nothing but life energy or life itself, and swara is the breathing process, the air that we breathe in and out. So that is what is meant by prana and swara, life and breath. Now, as per our yogic sciences, it is said that there are 72,000 nadis running between our navel and the shoulders in the region of the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous ganglion around the spine. So mind you, I'm not referring to the actual neural ganglions or the nervous system itself. This is about a specific type of a chain of energy that is interlinked to each other, which is termed as nadis. Now, out of the 72,000 nadis, 10 primary nadis have been identified, namely Sushumna, Ida, Pingala, Gandhari, Hastijibha, Pusha, Yashaswini, Alabusha, Kuhu and Shankhini. Probably I'll go into detail about these nadis in the succeeding part. So as of now, let us stick to trying to understand what this is all about. Now, these 10 nadis carry the corresponding 10 vayus, that is prana, apana, samana, udana, vyana, naga, kurma, krikala, devadatta and dhananjaya. Now, as per our yogic sciences, these primary nadis carry these 10 primary vayus, which are the reason for our existence and sustenance. If these vayus and nadis are not in proper condition, that leads to decay and eventually death. So these nadis and vayus flow around the spine, our spine, in the subtle body, that is Sukshma Sharira. So I'm not referring to the physical body over here. It is about the ethereal body or the Sukshma Sharira. As shown in the earlier picture in the previous slide, the Pingala Nadi runs through the right side of the body, obviously through the right nostril. The Ida Nadi runs through the left side of the body, and that is the left nostril. And Sushumna Nadi runs exactly through the center of the body, through the spinal system, spinal cord. So how do we understand what this is all about? Prana or life energy can be controlled through the control of prana vayu, that is our breath. Prana is such a subtle, dynamic and powerful thing that we cannot approach to control it directly. So the only way to control it, or probably the easiest way to control it, is through the controlling the flow of our breath. So it is akin to a wild elephant. A wild elephant is really uncontrollable. It can create havoc in the jungle or the forest, but it can be tamed and controlled through a goad or the ankusha, as shown in the picture on the screen. So pranayama is the first step of taming that elephant. that is trying to learn how to breathe properly. Trust me, most people, they're not even aware of the right way to breathe. Now, I'm not going to cover pranayama in this video because that would divert from the main topic. So first we need to understand the right way to breathe, that is how to do Puraka, Rechaka, Kumbhaka, Nadi Shodhana, Bhastrika, Anulom, Vilona, etc. All of these pranayama exercises help us to breathe properly and effectively. That is what pranayama is all about. So that is about taming the elephant. And Swarodaya is the act of wielding the goad or the ankusha. So the flow of nadis is directly related to real world activities. So if we can control the flow of the prana through the nadis, by controlling the flow of prana vayu, that is our breath, we can actually take charge of the situation and even influence the outcomes and even predict certain things about the future. That's the beauty of this science. Let us have a look at Ida Karma. The Ida Nadi that flows through the left side of the body, specifically through the left nostril, is also called as Chandra Nadi, and it is depicted as white in color. It is the feminine manifestation of the pranic energy. It endows success in all kinds of auspicious activities. Another way to look at it is it flows through the parasympathetic nervous system. So the activities that can be done when your breath is flowing freely from your left nostril is listed out on the screen. And this is just an indicative list. Calm, silent work requiring mental creativity can be done. Moving out of the house, meeting people, socializing, conducting or taking interviews or even giving interviews, helping others, doing charity, doing good deeds, undertaking short travels, anything to do with treatment and medicines can be done when this is happening. The flow of breath is from the Chandra Nadi. Sowing of seeds can be done. All kinds of auspicious ceremonies can be conducted. One can try to resolve conflicts. It's a good time to purchase jewelry, and it is also very, very helpful if you're into mantra sadhana. Now, mind you, this is just an indicative list and not exhaustive. And since this is part 1, I cannot go too much into depth. So please bear with me. Now let's have a look at Pingala Karma. The Pingala Nadi, which flows through the right side of the body, or specifically the right nostril, is also called as the Surya Nadi, and it is depicted as black in color. Now, it is the masculine manifestation of the pranic energy. It is good for cruel, difficult, and hard activities. You can look at it as flowing from the sympathetic nervous system. The activities that are good when the Surya Nadi is active is listed on the screen. Any kind of physical or strenuous activity which requires a lot of physical hard work and effort. Any kind of intellectual study, example problem solving or mathematics, undertaking a long journey, entering a house or a new location, driving of vehicles, warfare or challenging ventures can be undertaken. It is good for agricultural activities. It is good for engaging in commerce, buying and selling, all kinds of trade and commerce activities. It is good for engaging in debates or any kind of litigation. Anything that requires concentrated effort and precision, for example, cutting, slicing, some kind of repair work, etc. All of these can be done when the flow of breath is through your right nostril. And it is also good for doing Shat Kriya Prayogas for those who are into mantra, tantra and yantra. Now let's talk about Sushumna Karma. It is also called as the Madhyama Nadi, or the golden center, because it flows exactly in the center of the spinal column. It is a mixed flow of pranic energy, that is your Pingala as well as Ida. When both are flowing, that is the flow of energy is almost equal from both of your nostrils, then it is said to be called as the Madhyama Nadi or Sushumna Nadi. And since the flow is from both, that is both from the sun side and the moon side, it is like the combination of sun and moon, or rather it is considered akin to Amavasya, if you look at it from the celestial or the astronomical angle. And obviously Amavasya is basically the darkest night, right? So for this reason, it is to be avoided for all kind of worldly activities, and it you can look at it as flowing from the central nervous system, neither the sympathetic or the parasympathetic, but the central nervous system. So this one needs to avoid this at all costs, because for achieving success or accomplishing any task or activity, the flow of breath should be completely either from the right nostril or the left nostril, and not through both. So it is dangerous for all kinds of regular human beings like you and me and everybody else around us. So it is advisable not to begin any kind of important activities when the Sushumna Nadi is active. One has to avoid all types of risky activities during this time. In fact, if you are already engaged in an activity and all of a sudden if the Sushumna Nadi gets activated, you should stop doing that work, sit back and relax, because this is the best time for doing some kind of meditation. It is good for spiritual practices. And the secret over here is that the one who can prolong the Sushumna, such a person can eventually achieve enlightenment, because it is very rare to have Sushumna for a prolonged period of time. Because when does Sushumna occur? Now this concept is a bit difficult for those who have never really observed the flow of their breath. If you closely observe by probably placing your fingers or hands, or your palm around your nostrils and forcibly breathe out like this, in this manner, you will realize that the flow of breath from one of the nostrils is always more than the other. You can try this several times throughout the day and you'll realize this. So as mentioned in the previous two slides, Pingala karma is good for certain cruel and hard activities. Ida karma is good for all kinds of soft, mild, calm and good activities. Now, when does Sushumna Nadi get activated? When there is a changeover. So when there is a changeover from Pingala to Ida or Ida to Pingala, for a few seconds the flow of breath is from both the nostrils, and that is what is called a Sushumna Nadi. Now that's why it is really not good for any kind of worldly activities, because even our focus, our attention, our concentration, the balance of energy within our body, everything gets changed or is changing during that time when the Sushumna Nadi is activated. But for all spiritual purposes, it is considered to be the best thing to happen to a human being. So once one is enlightened, post-enlightenment, anything said or done while in Sushumna attains perfection. So if you are a guru, an astrologer, a guide, a counselor, a mentor, or a priest, or any such kind of person, when the Sushumna Nadi is flowing and you utter certain words, probably you're blessing somebody or you're cursing somebody, that turns out to be true. You're able to even predict future events with 100% accuracy when the Sushumna Nadi is active. But mind you, this is purely for advanced human beings or those who are enlightened, not for common people at all. So for all worldly and material purposes, Sushumna Nadi should be avoided, or rather you can't avoid Sushumna Nadi, but all kinds of other activities should be avoided during Sushumna Nadi. Now let us have a look at Swarodaya. Swarodaya, or the techniques to switch breath. In order to shift your breath from Pingala to Ida and Ida to Pingala, either ways, in any direction, You need to have a grip over certain tools and techniques. And why would anyone want to switch their breath to change or alter the flow of the nadi? It's pretty simple for all practical purposes. As we discussed earlier in this video, suppose you have a meeting, a very important meeting, probably with one of your major clients in the next half an hour, and you're at your office and you realize that your Pingla Nadi is running. Now you know that the Ida Nadi is required for a successful outcome during a meeting. So you need to shift your flow of breath from the right nostril to the left nostril. How do you do that? Or take another example or a situation wherein you are at a retail showroom and you want to buy a good quality mobile phone. Now, how are you going to decide which one works best for you? Apart from the size of your pocket, there are technical specifications and other factors that come into play. So, at the time of purchase or browsing through the showroom, if your IDA is running, what will happen? Your creative mind will be more active and you will be more attracted towards the aesthetics and looks of the mobile, but you will probably ignore the technical specifications. I mean, what kind of RAM, what kind of OS you need, etc. So you need to switch over from IDA to Pingla, because the Pingla Nadi is going to give you a good outcome as far as any kind of trade, commerce, buying and selling is concerned. So there can be many situations in life where the flow of breath is in conflict with the actual activity that you want to do. So here on the screen there are a few general methods that are listed to counter this thing. You can eat a bit of ghee for Ida Nadi to flow. Try eating a bit of honey if you want the Pingla Nadi to flow. Another shortcut or a swift technique is press deeply with your finger at the base of the nostril. Okay, here, either here or here, works differently for different people. Either here or here, at the base of the nostril, from where you want the breath to flow freely. So if it is Pingla is running and you want to shift to Ida, do it this side, and vice versa. If you want Pingla to run, shift from Ida this side. So that is how you have to go about it. Another sure shot technique is, if you have the opportunity to sleep either on a bed or a couch or any place, doesn't matter, while sleeping, turn to the right for Ida Nadi. That is, put your face in this direction, and vice versa, that is, turn to the left for Pingla Nadi. Now that is how you are going to switch your breath. Those are the general methods. Now there are certain specific tips that also can be practiced. You can turn towards your left and sleep if facing some kind of indigestion problems. That way, if you turn to the left, what is going to happen? Your Pingla Nadi will start running, and Pingla is good for respiration and digestion. So that's how it's helpful even in a medical sense. Turn to the right and sleep for relief from insomnia. Why? Because if you turn to the right, your Ida Nadi will get active, and Ida Nadi is good for calming, soothing your mind and turning the creativity on. So you will have sweet dreams and a good night's sleep. Now you can switch your breath immediately whenever feeling irritated or depressed. Always, whenever you feel irritated, depressed or bored, just take a note of your breath. Which nostril is more active than the other? Just switch it and your mood will change immediately. Trust me, this works. It works 100% of the time. Then you can try switching to Ida when you're feeling too angry, when you're angry at someone, and of course you need to be conscious enough to be able to check the flow of your breath in that moment of anger. If you can do that, you'll notice that whenever you're angry, it is always the Pingla Nadi that is active. That is, the flow of breath is from the right nostril. So if you switch over to the left nostril or the Ida, your anger will subside automatically. Similarly, you should try to switch to Pingla when feeling too lazy. When you're feeling too lazy or lethargic to do any important task or activity, just notice that most of the times it would be your Ida Nadi that would be flowing. That is, the flow of breath would be from the left nostril. So if you switch over to the right, you'll get that required energy for doing that hard work or putting that effort for that particular task. So these are the few tips. And what are we trying to achieve through this? Through the flow of breath, or our vayu, which is also called as prana vayu, we are trying to affect the prana or the life energy of our body, mind and soul itself. And this prana obviously runs our mind and body. And why this technique is so subtle, important and effective is that if you have some kind of physical discomfort, of course there are other ways of treating it, but now those are difficult ways, and those are the ways when the trouble is actually become unbearable. So for example, if you're sick, you can obviously go to a doctor, take medicine, but what can you do to not to fall sick? You can use this technique for that. Same way, controlling your mind, that's the toughest thing in the whole universe. So you can try to control your mind through the flow of your breath in order to control your prana, because your prana controls your mind and body and everything else that represents you. Well, the video is not over yet. I'm going to share a few more techniques over here for the audience who is aware of the flow of their breath and who have some kind of higher calling. Now I have written two things on the screen. One is Soham Hansa and the other is the name of Lord Ram. Now the first method of Soham Hansa as part of Swarodaya is for controlling your Ida and Pingala nadis, and obviously this is for all kinds of worldly activities. So you can breathe in with Sa and breathe out with Hum. So when you breathe in and breathe out in a continuous flow, it becomes So Hum. And once you breathe out, you need to hold your breath for a few seconds and say, or rather think in your mind, Hamsaha. So you don't have to actually speak it out as Soham Hansaha. You have to think of it in your mind. When you breathe in, it is So, breathe out Hum, pause, Hamsa. So that is how the cycle should go. So Hum, Hamsaha. You need to practice this method as much as possible, and with practice you will be able to switch over your breath from Ida to Pingala and vice versa just with your thought. The moment you say Soham Hansa or you think Soham Hansa in your mind, and your flow of breath can switch between the two nostrils. That's how effective this technique is. And the second one, which is about repeating the name of Lord Rama as Ram, that is the Ram Nam Japa. This is specifically for moksha prayasa, or to attain liberation or salvation. And this is all about controlling Sushumna. It has got nothing to do with Ida or Pingala. It is about the Sushumna Nadi, the central Nadi. So in this case, you have to breathe in with Ra, then hold your breath and continue the and then breathe out with or Ma. So that is how it is. It is that is to say and you have to repeat this above and practice as much as possible, because the more you do this, the more your Sushumna will get activated and you'll be able to prolong the Sushumna. Now mind you, this practice is not for doing any worldly activities. This is purely for advanced spiritual practice only. This is not going to help you much in worldly activities. And if you notice the difference between the two techniques of Soham Hamsaha and Ram is that in the first one, that is Soham Hansa, what you're doing is when you're breathing in, you're breathing out, that there's a continuous in and out. But after you're breathing out, there is a holding of breath, which is basically called as kumbhaka in pranayama. So the holding of breath is after breathing out. That is Som Hansa. While in the Ram Nam Japa, the holding of breath is after breathing in. So after the Ra, in the A stage, you're holding your breath or doing the kumbhaka, which is the Puraka kumbhaka. So in the first one, it is the Rechaka kumbhaka, in the second one is the Puraka kumbhaka. Now, this is the major difference between the two techniques. If you want to achieve anything in the material world, you have to practice the Rechaka kumbhaka, that is holding your breath after breathing out. And if you want to advance in the spiritual world, you have to practice Puraka kumbhaka, that is holding your breath after breathing in. This is one of the topmost secrets that even advanced practitioners of yoga and pranayama seldom reveal to anyone. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, just as my other videos. This particular video was kind of off the mark for those who have been following me or who are my subscribers. But this will remain one of my most favorite videos, because this is a very ancient and secretive science that people seldom share, and it is really, really helpful for one and all if you practice this particular thing of Swarodaya Siddhi. So hope you guys liked it. Keep watching it, keep sharing it. Please do subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I'll conclude this video with Jai Shri Ram, Jai Hanuman.